You stand with a watering can over your cucumber patch, pouring water, waiting for a miracle. But the miracle never comes. Your cucumbers are bitter, crooked, or simply sparse. Sound familiar? Chances are, like thousands of other home gardeners, you're making the same mistakes. Don't water your cucumbers until you learn these 7 secrets to a bumper harvest. Today, we're not just talking about watering. We're revealing simple, yet often overlooked rules that will transform your modest garden bed into an absolute abundance of cucumbers. And trust me, the 7th secret is the simplest, yet it's the one most often forgotten. Let's pause for a second and think, what exactly is a cucumber? It's 95 to 97% water. Just water, beautifully packaged by nature, with a light aroma and a pleasant crunch. That's why proper watering dictates absolutely everything. The taste, the size, and the number of fruits that set. Incorrect watering stresses the plant, and under stress, a cucumber starts to defend itself. It produces that very substance that makes it bitter, and it drops its flowers to conserve energy. Your job isn't just to give it water, but to create ideal conditions so it feels like it's on a luxurious vacation. So the number one pitfall that even seasoned gardeners stumble over? It's the water temperature. Sounds ridiculously simple, doesn't it? But that very simplicity hides a cunning trap. Picture a typical scenario. You grab a hose connected to a well or your main water supply, and with a sense of accomplishment you water your cucumber beds. The water in the hose is typically ice cold, rarely exceeding 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. For us, on a hot summer day, it feels like a welcome coolness, but for a cucumber, it's like taking an icy plunge. Let's understand why. Cucumbers' delicate and sensitive roots are located in the uppermost, warmest, and sun-warmed layer of soil. There, they are comfortable, with soil temperatures potentially reaching 20, 25, or even 30 degrees Celsius. And onto this warm, cozy root system, you pour a stream of ice-cold water. This isn't just stress, it's a genuine thermal shock. What happens to the roots at this moment? They literally seize up and shrink. Their primary function, absorbing water and nutrients, is temporarily completely blocked. Instead of actively growing and forming fruits, the plant diverts all its energy to survival. It tries to warm itself up and recover from the shock it experienced. The consequences of such cold shocking are dire. Growth slows down, and the small fruit sets, which require maximum nutrition, begin to yellow and drop off. The plant simply sheds them like ballast to conserve energy. Moreover, roots weakened by the cold become easy prey for fungal diseases, primarily root rot. The solution to this problem is elementary, and it won't cost you a thing. Water for watering cucumbers must be allowed to stand and warm up in the sun. Place a barrel, tank, or even a few large buckets in your garden. Fill them with water in the morning, and by evening, the ideal time for watering, the water inside will warm up to a comfortable 22 or 25 degrees Celsius. This is the living water that your cucumbers will thank you for with a generous and crisp harvest. Now, let's move on to our second secret, and this one is all about timing. Ask yourself, when do you water your cucumbers? If your answer is, whenever I have a spare moment during the day, then I'm afraid you're actually creating a lot of problems for them. Picture this. It's a scorching midday, the sun directly overhead. You generously water your cucumbers, and the droplets glisten beautifully on their broad leaves. Seems refreshing, doesn't it? But in reality, it's a disaster. Each one of those drops acts like a tiny magnifying glass, focusing the sun's rays directly onto the leaf. This causes actual burns on the delicate surface. Those yellow or brown spots you might have noticed. They're not a disease. They're wounds creating an open invitation for all sorts of infections. But there's more. Watering during the heat is literally throwing water away. Much of that precious moisture simply evaporates from the soil and leaves before it ever reaches the roots. You might believe you've given your plant a good drink, but all you've really done is create a humid steam bath around it. And what thrives in a steam bath? Fungi, of course. That combination of warmth and humidity on the leaves creates the perfect breeding ground for the rapid development of powdery mildew and downy mildew. So, when's the best time to water? It's a simple rule to remember. Water either early in the morning before the sun starts to really heat things up, or in the evening as it goes down. Morning watering is beneficial because your plants get a full day's supply of moisture, and any droplets on the leaves have plenty of time to dry quickly. However, for many seasoned gardeners, evening watering is the gold standard. The oppressive heat has eased, evaporation is minimal, and the water has the entire night to thoroughly penetrate the soil, reaching even the deepest roots. Your plants can then quietly drink their fill overnight, gathering strength. So, forget about daytime watering. It's not a kindness, it's detrimental. Our third crucial tip concerns watering, and this is where many gardeners make a common mistake. Most of us water our plants from above, showering the leaves with a watering can or hose. It might seem like you're washing off dust and refreshing the entire plant, but in reality, you're actually creating ideal conditions for diseases. Consistently wet cucumber leaves, especially in a greenhouse where humidity is already high, are a direct invitation for fungal diseases. Powdery mildew, which looks like a white powdery film, and downy mildew, peronosporosis, characterized by yellow spots, absolutely thrive in these conditions. The spores for these fungi are everywhere, but they only germinate and spread in a wet environment. By watering the leaves, you're essentially creating the perfect incubator for them. Furthermore, a significant portion of the water that hits the leaves simply evaporates before it can reach its intended destination. Our sole goal is to hydrate the root system. It's the roots that are solely responsible for delivering water and nutrients to the entire plant. The leaves play virtually no role in this process. So remember this golden rule. Always water your cucumbers directly at the base of the plant. Do it gently, without eroding the soil or exposing the roots. It's best to use a watering can without the sprinkler rose, or simply pour water from a bucket in a steady, thin stream. Aim the spout directly into the hollow around the plant's base. This method ensures that 100% of the water reaches its intended target. If you have a large cucumber patch and watering each plant individually is too time-consuming, there's an excellent solution. Create a shallow trench along the row, about 4 to 6 inches, 10-15 centimeters from the stems, and pour water directly into it. The water will gradually soak in, evenly hydrating the entire root zone, while leaving the stems and leaves completely dry. This is a simple, yet incredibly effective method for preventing the most common and dangerous cucumber diseases. The fourth secret completely debunks the popular myth that the more often you water, the better. Many people mistakenly believe that cucumbers, being such water-loving plants, need a little bit of moisture every single day. This is a fundamentally flawed approach that leads to the development of a weak, superficial root system. Let's consider the plant's logic. If you give it small sips of water daily, only moistening the top 5 to 7 centimeters of soil, the roots simply have no incentive to grow deeper. Why would they bother to strain and search for moisture far below if it's always readily available on the surface? As a result, the roots spread out horizontally rather than growing downwards, remaining confined to the uppermost layer of the soil. What are the dangers of this? Firstly, such a shallow root system is extremely vulnerable. The topsoil quickly dries out in the sun and can easily overheat. Any brief dry spell, or even just a couple of days away from your garden, can become critical for the plant. Secondly, these roots cannot access nutrients from deeper soil layers, making the plant entirely reliant on your regular fertilizing. The correct strategy is infrequent, yet very abundant and deep watering. What does this mean in practical terms? Instead of drizzling just a litre under each plant every day, it's far better to give each plant 5 to 10 litres of water every 2 to 4 days, depending on the weather. Your goal is to thoroughly saturate the soil to a depth of at least 20-30 centimetres. This type of watering encourages the roots to grow downwards, reaching deep for the receding moisture. It develops a powerful branching root system that makes the plant strong and resilient. It will easily endure minor droughts and can independently draw water and nutrients from deeper soil layers. To check if you've watered enough, Simply dig into the soil next to the plant bed an hour after watering. If the soil is already dry at a depth of 10 centimeters, don't hesitate to water more. The fifth secret concerns something many people don't even think about: the quality of the water itself. We tend to assume water is just water, but for cucumbers, these delicate plants, water composition makes a huge difference. The most common sources are tap water or deep well water. Often this water is hard, meaning it contains high levels of calcium and magnesium salts. With regular watering, these salts accumulate in the soil, leading to increased alkalinity. In alkaline conditions, cucumbers struggle to absorb essential micronutrients like iron, manganese, and boron, even if these elements are present in sufficient quantities in the soil. Visually, this manifests as yellowing between the leaf veins, a condition known as chlorosis. The plant effectively starves, even though there's plenty of food available. Another issue with tap water is chlorine. It's added for disinfection, but for plants, especially beneficial soil microorganisms, chlorine is toxic. It suppresses the microflora that helps roots absorb nutrients and generally stunts plant development. So, what kind of water is ideal? Rainwater, of course. It's naturally soft, has a neutral pH, and is rich in oxygen. If you have the opportunity to collect and use rainwater, it's the best gift you can give your cucumbers. But what if rainwater isn't an option? There's a very simple solution. Any water, whether from a well or tap, should be left to stand. Over a day in an open container, like a barrel, most of the chlorine will evaporate and some of the hardness salts will settle out. Plus, as we mentioned earlier, the water will warm up to an optimal temperature. To further soften the water, you can add a small amount of peat moss, tied in a cheesecloth bag, to the barrel, or pour in about a cup of wood ash per 100 litres of water. This will not only soften the water, but also enrich it with beneficial elements. The sixth key is flexibility and adapting your watering to the plant's growth stage. Treating a tiny seedling and a huge fruit-laden mature plant the same way is a big mistake. Their water needs differ dramatically. Let's consider the life cycle of a cucumber. So, you've planted a seed or transplanted a seedling. During this initial period, while the plant is small, its root system is still tiny and delicate. Moderation is crucial at this stage. Excessive watering can easily lead to root rot in the underdeveloped roots. The soil should remain consistently slightly moist, but by no means become waterlogged. Water in small amounts, but frequently enough to keep the topsoil from drying out completely. Next comes the active growth and flowering phase. The plant develops its foliage, forms vines, and produces its first flowers. During this period, its water needs increase. Watering should become more abundant but not too frequent to encourage deep root growth, as we've already discussed. A lack of moisture during the flowering stage is one of the main reasons plants drop their flowers and fruit sets. They simply don't have enough resources to sustain them. And then comes the peak, the period of mass fruiting. A mature cucumber plant, with many fruits ripening simultaneously, turns into a veritable water pump. Remember, cucumbers are 95% water. To produce juicy, crisp fruits, the plant consumes an enormous amount of moisture. During this period, watering should be maximised, frequent and very generous. Any lack of water will immediately affect the quality of the harvest. The cucumbers will become small, misshapen, and most importantly, bitter. It is precisely in response to drought that the plant begins to produce cucurbitacin, the substance that causes bitterness. Therefore, during the fruiting period, monitor moisture levels especially carefully. Don't be afraid to water generously. Your cucumbers will thank you for it. And finally, the seventh secret. It's the simplest, the most logical, yet for some reason, it's the one most often overlooked. Here it is. Stop watering your cucumbers by the calendar or a fixed schedule. Many gardeners fall into a routine. I water my cucumbers on Wednesdays and Saturdays, but the weather doesn't stick to our timetable. Today it might be overcast and cool, and tomorrow, scorching sun and dry wind. Your plants needs change every single day. Watering on a schedule in cool, rainy weather will lead to overwatering and the risk of rot. And skipping a watering in intense heat just because it's not Saturday yet can be disastrous for your crop. The only reliable guide for watering is the actual soil moisture. Your primary tools shouldn't be a calendar, but your own eyes and hands. So how do you determine if it's time to water? There's a very simple, foolproof, old-school method that will only take you 5 seconds. Just walk up to your garden bed and dig your finger into the soil about 10 centimeters deep, or simply grab a small handful of soil from that depth. Now give it a squeeze in your fist. If water oozes out, it's too early to water. There's more than enough moisture. If the ball of soil holds its shape well, feels firm and moist to the touch but doesn't drip, that's the ideal condition. No watering needed yet. But if the soil crumbles in your hands, dry and dusty, that's an SOS signal. Your plant is already suffering from thirst and it needed watering yesterday. Grab that watering can, fast. This simple test is the most reliable indicator. It accounts for your specific soil type, the current weather, and the plant's size. Don't trust a schedule. Trust the condition of your soil. By learning to feel your soil, you'll always know when your cucumbers are truly thirsty, and you can give them water exactly when they need it most. That's truly mastering the art of plant care. Here's the most crucial, even surprising takeaway from all of this. These secrets only work when applied together as a single, interconnected system. You could follow all the other rules perfectly, but just one mistake, like watering with cold hose water at midday, can undo all your hard work and severely stress your plants. Cucumbers, it turns out, are quite unforgiving. Bitter fruit, dropped blossoms, and diseases aren't just bad luck. They're clear signals that one or more elements of this delicate system have been disrupted. This isn't just a collection of random tips, it's a holistic philosophy of care, where your attention to detail directly translates into a crisp, juicy harvest. You're not just watering cucumbers, you're actively managing their health and well-being. And once you grasp this simple logic, you'll say goodbye to harvest problems forever. So, let's recap the formula for success. Warm water, watering early in the morning or in the evening, strictly at the base of the plant deeply but not too often, and always considering the plant's growth stage and actual soil moisture. That's really all there is to it. Simple, logical, and incredibly effective. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If these secrets were helpful to you, and you're now ready for a record harvest, please support our channel by giving this video a like and subscribing. It really helps us create new, useful content. Now, a question for you. What are your own cucumber growing secrets? Or perhaps you've made one of these mistakes and now understand what went wrong. Share your experience in the comments below. Let's learn and grow together.